So, let's talk about Buddhism, shall we? As we move forward on the timeline, you can't leave out this very long-lived religion based upon a combination of traditions, beliefs, and practices. During this lecture, please make sure you put away all unnecessary distractions such as cell phones, tablets, and all those other items that do nothing but prevent you from doing well. Get rid of them for 20 minutes. You will survive. There is no single worksheet for this particular lecture. However, there is a section from your foldable map that is titled Buddhism. Use this lecture to help you answer those questions on that particular panel. As usual, if you have any questions by the end of the lecture, please let me know, and we'll get those figured out for you in short order. And with that, let's get moving. Last unit, we discussed the fact that Judaism started around 2000 BCE, while Buddhism is another one of those extremely old religions that still exists today. Believed to have started around the 3rd or 4th century BC, it still has a following of an estimated 350 to 550 million people, mostly living on the Indian subcontinent. Here we can see a depiction of Buddha. Many people see images or statues like this and think people are worshiping an idol. Nothing can be farther from the truth, actually. Buddhists sometimes pay respect to images of the Buddha, not in worship, nor to ask for favors. A statue of Buddha, with hands rested gently in its lap, with a compassionate smile, reminds us to strive to develop peace and love within ourselves. Bowing to the statue is an expression of gratitude for the teachings. This particular statue is from the 1800s in the country of Thailand, which isn't part of the Indian subcontinent, by the way. Here we can see a Pakistani depiction of Buddha's head, which was created from around 100 CE. The 2nd century. All right, now it's time for some details and get into the essence of Buddhism and what it all entails to follow the faith. So, the essence of Buddhism can be characterized as the middle way of wisdom and compassion. It has been a tradition for over 2,500 years, as we mentioned before. And within this tradition, there are what are called 3 jewels of Buddhism. Buddha, who is the teacher, Dharma, the teachings of Buddha, and Sangha, the community of followers. The Sangha are usually seen as monks in orange togas, the ones you see on TV or movies sometimes that are obviously Buddhist monks. So, exactly who is or what is Buddha? Well, from what we know, he went by the name of Siddhartha Gautama and lived roughly from 563 to 483 BCE. Born in northeast India, known today as Nepal, he was raised into a life of great luxury with a future of becoming a king. However, at the ripe age of 29, he rejected his luxurious life to see enlightenment as in the source of suffering. To accomplish this, he lived a strict, ascetic life for 6 years, meaning that he chose to live a life of self-denial, of life's luxuries. That's like you as a student, choosing to learn the values of what it means to be an individual by getting rid of your phone and ditching your friends. Learning what it means to be who you are without everybody else and everything else telling you that for you. Figuring it out for yourself. Eventually, he rejected that kind of life and instead decided to sit and meditate for a very long time. In doing so, he found what's called nirvana. And I don't mean the band Nirvana with Kurt Cobain. At 35, tradition states that he became known as the Enlightened One. Now, sometimes people might ask themselves, what causes suffering? Maybe you ask yourself that, I don't know. Well, Siddhartha Gautama broke it down to one thing: desire. And the solution is to extinguish the self and don't obsess about oneself. In other words, don't obsess about things you want or don't have. It will only cause suffering. In his studies, Siddhartha learned that there are four noble truths. The first truth is that there is suffering in the world. To live is to suffer. This belief is known as dukkha. The Buddha found this early on when he was young and experienced this suffering through the forms of death and other types of ways of how he was looking at himself and how happy he was, which brought him to discover this first of the noble truths. The second truth, the cause of suffering, is self-centered desire to attachments. This truth is known as tanaya, the idea that you are full of yourself because of what you desire and what you want, the things that you want and the attachments you need from other people, that you will be suffering because of those items. The third noble truth is that the solution to nobles 1 and 2 is to eliminate those attachments. This is known as nirvana, which translates to extinction. That's right, make your desires and attachments extinct. Get rid of them. And the last of the four truths, to reach nirvana, one must follow the Eightfold Path. So besides the 8 truths, there's also a path you have to take to better yourself. Notice that the Eightfold Path is done in a certain order. Notice that the Noble Truths are done in the strict order. Well, the Eightfold Path is very similar. Based upon the chart you see here, the Eightfold Path is broken into wisdom, ethical conduct, and mental development. And these are broken up into 8 smaller areas. Having the right view, the right intentions, the right speech, the right action, right livelihood, the right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. Being able to do these items will better yourself, to better understand yourself, and live a happier, less stressful, or less troublesome life, according to Buddha. Accomplishing all this, you might find yourself in nirvana if you get there, which is the union with the ultimate spiritual reality. You have escaped the rebirth. One tool that is used by those seeking nirvana is the Mandala, which is the wheel of life. This motif symbolizes a map of the universe from the human perspective. It's used to teach meditation and patience. And I think we can all use a little bit more teachings like this, being able to be patient through the use of silent meditation to discover oneself better. Just a thought. These motifs are usually created using individual grains of sand. A Buddhist would use this to meditate or to reach some sort of a trance state, which would put him into a better mindset of how he can better understand himself. As you can see from the image to the right, creating a mandala takes time and requires a lot of patience. Like lots of religions, Buddhism can be broken up into several different forms or communities. These are the Theravada Buddhisms, Mahayana Buddhisms, Tibetan Buddhism, and Zen Buddhism. Let's talk about these types, shall we? First, we have the Theravada Buddhism. This is the oldest of the schools of Buddhism. Translated, it means the way of the elders, or small vehicle. This sect was found in southern Asia and believed that one may achieve nirvana by living a Mahayana life, meaning that they live in a monastery with only those other types of people practicing the same beliefs at the same time. Their time in the monastery is spent focusing on wisdom and meditation with the ultimate goal of becoming a Buddha or an enlightened one. Today, there are over 1 million followers worldwide of this particular form of Buddhism. Sorry, 100 million followers today. Here you can see how the Theravada Buddhism spread throughout Asia, starting in the areas of Nepal and Tibet. A second form of Buddhism is the Mahayana Buddhism, meaning the great voice, the great vehicle, founded in northern Asia and is sometimes considered Buddhism for the masses. These followers seek guidance from the Boddhistvas, or the wise beings. Their goal is not just individual escape from the wheel, but the salvation of all humanity through self-sacrifice of those enlightened few. Basically meaning that the enlightened few are the ones that will help save everybody else. Like the Theravada, the Mahayana Buddhisms can trace their history back to Nepal and Tibet. As mentioned ago, Buddhistvas, these are the ones who have reached enlightenment for the sake of everyone and are the guide for those trying to reach nirvana. And here we see some depictions of that. The third group of Buddhists are the Tibetan Buddhists, meaning the diamond vehicle, developed around the 7th century CE. It's kind of a mix of Theravada and Mahayana, but they include putting their hopes in the Boddhistvas into particular people known as lamas, or today specifically the Dalai Lama, those who are enlightened, who are trying to help everybody else in the world by only the few who are enlightened, or the Dalai Lama in this case. One of the sacred books is shown as being the Tibetan Book of the Dead, which is a collection of spiritual teachings left behind by Padma Sambhava, a Buddhist follower who had brought Buddhism to Tibet in the 8th century. Today,
students, you have exactly 1 minute to get to your second period classes. Stop standing around in the corridors and move to your classes. You should be inside the classroom when the bell rings. We will be conducting hall sweeps. You will not be allowed to be re-admitted until next week. So have a good day.
Today, the Dalai Lama, whose real name is Tenzin Gyatso, is the head of a government in exile that is based in India. His country is currently controlled by China. So basically, he was in control of a country and was forced out by the Chinese invasion. That would have been what we call Nepal right now. Tibetans traditionally believe that him to be the reincarnation of his predecessors. So he's the reincarnated leader of the one before him. He is very well educated and has been given honorary degrees throughout the world, as well as the Nobel Peace Prize. Finally, there are the Zen Buddhists, those known to be part of the meditation school. They seek sudden enlightenment, known as satori, through meditation, arriving at emptiness. The Zen Buddhists use meditation masters, or rashai, in order to accomplish this understanding. They use the beauty of art, aesthetics, to assist in their meditation. These can consist of beautiful gardens, use of archery for focus and concentration, and even tea ceremonies, in addition to calligraphy. When added together, the Buddhist religion makes up about 6% of the world's population. It might not be a huge chunk of the pie, but it is another one of those old but surviving religions that still exists today. So maybe you can learn to meditate and relieve your stress. Maybe even come up with your own mantra that could help you.
Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum.
Loosely, that's translated to hail the jewel in the lotus. Why they would make this some kind of mantra, I have no clue. But who am I to judge someone else's religion? So, with that, I am done for the day. I hope you got a few pieces of information out of this lecture. If you have any questions, as usual, please feel free to let me know, and we can take care of them if needed. So, as always, continue to be safe and continue to be awesome. We'll see you next time.